December wind lashes the penthouse balcony. Your family's annual black tie gala glimmers 2 stories below your Louboutins. You clutch an unopened Venmo request from your mother. Why does the champagne taste like acid? When did the gold-trimmed dining table transform into a corporate boardroom where your spot was never guaranteed? One push of block this contact, and every crystal chandelier in Greenwich flickers. You smile, savoring revenge colder than harbor ice. I'm Sloan Whitman, 32 years old, and last month my entire family decided I wasn't worth the trouble. A group message from my parents landed with a dull thud. We think it's best you step away for now. My aunt gave it a thumbs up. So I replied, understood. I'll respect that and step away from the family fund too. Just like that, I closed my financial tap. At 2:15 a.m., my phone buzzed like a swarm. 89 missed calls by sunrise. My dad's voicemail? An urgent panic. What happened? The bank flagged everything, and all I texted back was, I'm honoring your decision. They hadn't yet grasped the depths of what I was willing to cut off. The Whitmans weren't just your average family from Greenwich. We were the Whitmans, a renowned name in New England's financial scene. Our family legacy, Whitman Wealth Partners, thrived through 3 generations, founded by my grandfather who built it from scratch during the post-war boom. I watched my father, Robert Whitman, expand our wealth as we lived in our 5-bedroom colonial, surrounded by trophies of success, lavish art, and snapshots of my parents with politicians and celebrities. My mother, Diana, the perfect corporate wife, turned dinner parties into multi-million-dollar deals over her famous apple pie. Meanwhile, I was just a kid, tapping into numbers that captivated everyone around me. While my cousins played with dolls and blocks, I was glued to stock reports scattered across the house. By age 10, I was challenging my dad with market questions he sometimes couldn't answer. This created an unbearable dynamic that would shadow me into adulthood. I trace a raindrop down the penthouse window. It smells like wet asphalt and gardenias. 16 years ago, in a velvet dress the color of bruised peaches, I was told to fetch Grandma another martini. Jake balanced on Dad's shoulders, camera flashes popping like party poppers nobody saved for me. Manhattan twinkled behind them, the skyline blurred through unshed tears. That chill slicing my chiffon? First lesson, here, love is currency, and I would always be bankrupt. Now. Whitman financial audits done. I roll the phrase on my tongue like a marble. I graduated Wharton at 24, Latin honors, the works. Dad still greeted me at the office with, "Slow down, princess, let Jake show you the ropes." Jake had barely crawled out of a state college. He'd been on payroll 7 months longer. That was the margin my family measured success by. I smiled, I nodded, I swallowed the acid. 8 years later, I sit at my standing desk beneath a framed Forbes clipping nobody in the family has ever asked about. My strategies returned 7%, 9% above the market while the industry clapped for 2%. Clients called my line first, yet each quarterly town hall dad took the stage. Team effort, team effort. He never looked my way. The family fund, $12 million our own private ATM, held $4.2 million of my own money, 35%. I'd slipped it in quietly, month by month while they spent summers in the Hamptons. They bought yachts. I bought microshares in the companies launching the satellites those yachts relied on. Last Thanksgiving, Uncle William lifted a crystal flute. Together, we lift the Whitman legacy equally. 62% of profits, my division. I lifted my glass and in the reflection saw a girl still refilling martinis. Tonight, that girl is gone. My phone vibrates. Mom's Venmo request for the Nantucket mortgage. Typing. 3 dots hovering. Another drops. Dad needs liquid cash for the board retreat. Then Aunt Carol pings for Jake's wedding venue. The glow of my screen feels like a spotlight roasting secrets. I swipe right and hit block. The chandelier above me flickers, one heartbeat, then steadies. The room tastes of ozone and finality. No more bailouts. No more invisible labor. In the silence, I hear leaf rustle from the park 11 stories below. Somewhere, cabs hiss through puddles. Somewhere, the harbor clinks with floating ice. Somewhere, I'm free. They'll call by sunrise, frantic, asking why wires bounce back. I'll forward the email thread. From Sloan Whitman. Subject, respecting your earlier decision. Body blank, attach. Quarterly ledger showing profit percentages. Close laptop. Rain scent fills the penthouse like a promise. The gray light of my Greenwich office smells like burnt espresso and printer toner. My laptop clock ticks 11:57 p.m. My eyelids sting, yet I keep scrolling. One more ratio before sleep. Numbers pulse on the screen like a heartbeat. Foreign market ROI curves climbing, Euro pharma dividends spiking. Perfect. I slide yesterday's revised pitch deck beside the German feasibility map. Tomorrow morning, Uncle Richard will stride in, cufflinks flashing, and ask, "So, kiddo, what does your father think?" The same question every presentation, every boardroom. I taste metal. Mom corners me in the kitchen minutes before the meeting. She traces my ponytail the way you'd smooth unruffled ribbon. "Honey, men don't like when you sound so academic. Just smile, nod, let Daddy lead." The microwave hums behind me, cuffing me in waves of leftover chili perfume. My tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. I smile. I nod. The smile hurts. 3 weeks later, Aunt Patricia swans into the conference room, silk scarf floating like a sales banner. Calm, confident. She taps the projector screen, and my slide, my fonts, my color palette, slides across her manicured finger in English and German. She notes, "I've been thinking about Europe for some time." My pulse hammers so loud I swear the microphones pick up the bass drop. The men nod, red pens scratching, "Yes, Patricia, visionary." Jake tweets from the back row, "Innovation at its finest." Not one glance my way. My cousin Amanda texts from the ladies' room. "They just toast themselves with your 120-slide roadmap. You okay?" I force a thumbs-up emoji, double, triple checking it conveys no actual feeling. Seconds later, the chrome hand dryer hisses like distant jet engines, sheet metal grief disguised as breeze. Outside, rain needles Beacon Street. Leaf rustle flickers under boots. I watch my reflection in a boutique window. Woman in blazer checking hoodie teenagers running past. Inside that glass, a thought crystallizes like frost. Loyalty without self-worth is just volunteering to be invisible. I blink. The pain fogs over my eyes. When the steam fades, the girl inside is smiling. July, Forbes Summit. 35 executives raise glasses to risk-tolerant alpha. My tablet sits open on the balcony rail, rain scent drifting off the Charles like fresh ink. A discreet notification arrives. Patent Office grant. Algorithm Wyvern. EU pending. I exhale. The air tastes like glacier water. Below, college crew docks, oars dripping. I quietly screenshot the approval, move it to a folder labeled Insurance. Back at the office, I open the family fund dashboard. 12 million liquid, 4.2 of it mine. I highlight the bar representing my capital injection, green beside their oil blue swipes, then minimize it. The glow of the monitor wraps the room in calming teal while I type an innocuous email. FYI, MarketWatch article on currency hedges attached. Nothing suspect. Subject bland enough they'll scroll past without coffee stains. Thanksgiving week. Uncle William bangs crystal again. Together we lift the Whitman legacy equally, am I right? The dining room chandelier rains light across glossy cherry wood. Mom's holly centerpiece smells like pine needles over peroxide. Jake livestreams cheers with dumb grin. I sip still water. It burns like glacial melt. I picture tomorrow, when family wires will loop back rejected, when bailouts vanish, when voicemail floods with blame. A tiny muscle in my jaw ticks. That night, I slip downstairs. Rain scent creeps through cracked window. I slide my personal keycard into the vacation rental safe. Back Bay LLC deeds, Nantucket trust documents, offshore call options mirror-plated in silver folders. Click. Lock. In the silence, my heart sinks with distant traffic lights pulsing red, yellow, green. Morse code for a new season. I ask the night, am I cruel or finally awake? The question hangs like fog above the harbor. Tomorrow the wires bounce, the phone rings, the final domino trembles. But tonight, for the first time ever, there is no request for money. The screen stays black. The charger pulses once, then nothing. The screen flashes upload 99% in the dim office as Sloan Whitman's thumb hovers over publish. For a heartbeat, rain scent drifts through cracked window, Greenwich traffic lights pulse like a metronome. She thinks of that mahogany conference room. Wood paneling soaked in old money perfume, Cousin Jake's phone blinking tick-tock hearts while her throat scrapes paper edges from an all-nighter report. Her father's voice sliced across the table, calm and cruel. Thanks for the handoff, Jake. Glass shards under fingernails. Every face swiveled away from her, zero hesitation. That was the moment when trust snapped. Not cracked, snapped, clean as a branch in February. Now she types, client memo, 30-day hold. One tap, $6 million locks like a vault. Rewind, 1 hour before, 6:04 a.m. She sat in the kitchen alone, sipping lukewarm coffee, leaf rustle audible from the backyard oak. The family WhatsApp glowed. Dad, early golf with Jake, then we'll swing by office. Mom, don't forget my birthday yacht deposit, $45 K, still missing yours. LOL. She stared at LOL like it tasted metal. Last November they hadn't even asked if she was coming for Thanksgiving, just texted, Venmo, link inside card, we're ordering turkeys. She had wired $20,000 without a thank you, then ate at her desk while they toasted Cousin Jake's new ideas. That same Jake who once called her strategies nerd stuff. Same Jake who still had her college savings as a loan, he somehow forgot. Back to the conference room. Jake lounged, legs on table. We could simplify everything by dumping the euro hedge. Laughter spilled like champagne they hadn't earned. Sloan felt the room tilt, sound warped, as if leaves outside froze midair. She pictured her private algorithms humming inside encrypted servers, millions compounding nightly while she pretended to care about their comfort. Forward to tonight. The clock strikes 10:17. Sloan stands on the balcony overlooking the harbor fog. The air tastes salt clean, nothing like the stale praise of the mahogany room. In the safe behind her, family deeds and trust keys sit unclaimed. She opens a fresh text thread. Reminder, client portal update. She schedules it for 9 a.m., prime chaos time. Every rejection notice will ping their phones like tiny alarms. She exhales. Cold glass fogs. Am I cruel or finally awake? The fog answers with silence. Somewhere below, a street vendor's cart clinks softly. It sounds like applause nobody asked for. Glass walls reflect the skyline in cubist shards. Sloan Whitman stands at the head of the table, fingers humming against the matte steel edge, feeling every heartbeat through the cool metal. Rain scent floats in from propped open vents. The family sits across from her like jury statues. Dad twirls a Mont Blanc pen, click, 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 counting down their patience. He thinks this is another quarterly update. They have no idea the dice already rolled in secret. Sloan inhales the metallic sting of ozone and adrenaline. She taps the projector once. The screen jumps to life, and there he is. Westfield's CFO, live. His face occupies the wall like a judgment. His voice slices through speakers. We're moving our entire portfolio, unless Sloan Whitman retains sole oversight over every new account. A record scratch moment. Everything stills. The father's pen hits the walnut. It rings louder than thunder. Cousin Jake gawks, mouth parted like a torn envelope. Mom's yacht RSVP lies forgotten on her lap. The CFO continues, crisp. Code red requires Sloane's signature. No file attached, just a blank cursor waiting for her. 4 words hover. Execute, hold, confirm. Sloane's fingertip hovers above enter. The family sees the balance, $6 million, locked in place by her tomorrow, but hers tonight. She locks eyes with Dad. 25 years of muted nods, of being background noise while Jake charmed corners, crash into this single second. The smoked glass skyline behind Sloane glimmers approval. Neon red screams against slate clouds. A distant fairy horn echoes, like a referee whistle blown after sudden death. Sloane's lips part. Congratulations. You've just bench-pressed the company onto my belay rope. Her voice doesn't rise. It drops, velvet cold. She presses enter. Every cell phone on the table buzzes. New notifications. Client portal suspended. 30-day cooling period began at 10:19 a.m. The tick is now digital legal proof. Dad finally speaks. You can't. But the words crumble. The room feels thinner, until the climate control kicks on and the drifting paperwork flutters like wounded birds. Sloane smooths her cuff. You taught me relationships win deals. Consider this our new relationship. Renegotiated, in writing. The CFO's screen fades to black. Silicon silence. Only rain drums the roof, steady as a metronome measuring the distance between old power and reinvention. Sloane gathers her single folder, turns, and walks out, heels clacking like punctuation marks. The hallway smells of fresh carpet and unlocked futures. Behind her, someone whispers, "What now?" Answer, whatever Sloane Whitman decides. I'm standing in the glass elevator, numbers ticking up like a heartbeat no one else can hear. Floor 19 tastes of burnt espresso. My phone buzzes. Dad again. I let it ring, let the chime echo off steel, let it die. Rain ticks against the skylight overhead. 6 million drops for $6 million now on legal ice. I step out onto marble. Hallway lights flicker fluorescent white as the ER. My Aunt Patricia rounds the corner carrying a stack of folders like shields. She spots me, pauses. Leaf rustle quiet. Her perfume, powdered rose, stale. For a second, we're the only 2 people in the building. She lifts her chin. You realize you've shaken everyone's peace, young lady. Not a question. I exhale slowly, tasting mint from morning toothpaste and something sharper, maybe copper. I don't answer. Can't. Words would water down the moment. Instead, I slide past her, fingertips brushing cold aluminum railing. The scent feels colder than November. I send one text, one tap, client double door ding. 30 accounts passed into personal custody, language clean and irrevocable. My inbox floods. Wait, hold, please clarify. I close the lid on my phone like sealing a vault. Behind me, Patricia's voice cracks, but I'm already around the bend. Far below on Broad Street, taxi horns fuse into one long howl. I wonder, will they ever understand the stillness that follows a single enter pressed in self-defense, or will they just mutter more judgment through porcelain teeth? Sloane Whitman is done playing small. Picture this, she's sitting in a high-stakes client meeting when her father, her own blood, cuts in. Let me put that in simpler terms, he says, dumbing down her tax strategies like she's a rookie. You can practically feel the walls closing in, the cold steel of family betrayal wrapping around her. Then there's Jake. He takes her risk model and claims it as his own like a thief in the night. As if that weren't enough, her aunt leaves her off an important email chain, like she doesn't even exist. But the final straw? That was brutal. Sloane arrives early, adrenaline pumping, only to find her ideas showcased by the very people who should have lifted her up. Her father and Jake smile at the clients. the presentation slides she crafted glowing in their hands while she's left outside, frozen in disbelief. It all hits her in waves, the years of hard work and brilliance unnoticed, the graph-like growth she nurtured for a family leadership team that still overlooks her. Enough, she whispers into the silence of her home office, echoing her resolve. 3 days later, the family WhatsApp buzzes with news that hits harder than a thunderclap. A weekend retreat at her uncle's lake house. Everyone's invited, except her. Sloane's done being the invisible girl in the family drama. She decides it's time for payback, except not in the way you'd expect. As the scent of rain clings to the air, she plots her next move. It's not just about reclaiming her worth. It's about showing the family what it feels like to lose something valuable. Tension crackles in her veins. What will the dawn bring on that lakefront mansion? Will they finally realize the price of exclusion? Sloane Whitman isn't just getting her story back, she's flipping the script, making them see what they've taken for granted. And so, the stage is set. What happens next? Only time will tell, but one thing is clear. Sloane's not going down without a fight. The message from my father hit like a stone. After considerable discussion among senior family members, we think it would be best if Sloane Whitman steps away from client management for now. We appreciate her background work, but recent feedback suggests clients respond better to our traditional approach. This isn't permanent, just a chance to realign with the Whitman way. I froze, staring at the screen as responses flooded in. Uncle Richard chimed in. Completely agree. Smart move. Aunt Patricia added her endorsement, while Cousin Jake was casually ready to take over my accounts. My mother, the supposed emotional anchor, simply typed, "We only want what's best for everyone." No one questioned the so-called client feedback, which was telling. I had run our client satisfaction surveys and knew our numbers were stellar. A strange calm washed over me as I watched this unfold. I had poured my heart into this family firm, generating revenue and nurturing growth, all only to be sent packing through a group text. I waited 17 minutes, watching more supportive messages roll in from family members who once claimed to be my allies. Finally, I typed, "Understood. I'll respect that decision and step away from the family fund too, wishing everyone continued success." A simple, polite message hiding a bombshell they had yet to comprehend. I silenced my phone, placing it face down on my desk, my heart racing. I opened my laptop and logged into the banking portal for our family fund. As a major contributor and one of the fund administrators, I had full access. The process was surprisingly simple. As my fingers hovered over the keyboard, I felt a surge of liberation. Was this the moment I finally took away something they valued? Something real? The thrill of reclaiming control tightened my chest. I was no longer just the overlooked daughter. I was about to show them the true cost of their choices. I hesitated, savoring the weight of the decision. The quiet around me felt electric. Would they realize what they stood to lose when I hit that final button? One gathered breath later, I hit withdraw. In a flash, my role had transformed. The clarity of my decision settled like the scent of rain on dry earth. I could feel the ground shift beneath the Whitman family's feet. Did they think I'd remain their disposable asset forever? No more. I was stepping into my power. The game had changed, and I was ready to play. What would this new chapter bring? Would my absence finally make them appreciate the bond we had taken for granted? Hold tight, because the story was just beginning. Pre-dawn, Sagaponack kitchen, sun just pinking the marble. 11-year-old Sloane pinches day-old croissant scraps for breakfast. Her sister's horse groom stands in the mudroom, tapping for a muffin basket Aunt Cam ordered with a flick like it's room service. Somewhere below, tiered chandeliers click off one by one. Uncle Bennett bellows from the balcony. "Who forgot the grid bill?" Bare feet on chilled tile, Sloane sprints to the fuse box. She flip-flips switches. Ozone, sharp, metallic, the smell of being needed, and never thanked. The scent haunts the same room 2 decades later. Swap pastels for screens. Sloan Whitman, a phantom green line on the banking portal blinking, pending. $4.2 million gone, plus $1.7 million in gains. Imagine the virtual vault sitting half empty like a great ballroom with half its lights blown. Friday night, 2 Jack and Cokes deep in their Hampton spoiler picnic, no one sees the alerts thunder silence into their phones. The system asks, "Are you sure?" Once. Sloan lets the cursor throb a breath. Rain outside taps the penthouse glass like knuckles on wood. She remembers 17 years of croissants, ozone, muffled thank yous she stitched together into loyalty. Today, she unstitches. Click. 40 seconds later, an email shoots to Keegan, the family attorney. Formal, legalese. Notice of withdrawal. Family Fund Agreement, Section 7.3, Major Contributor Exit. Blind copied to herself on a private account she's named Reclaim. The inbox squeaks like chalk on slate. Another one, this one to her Monday morning team. Pack office, meeting 8 a.m., confidentiality tight. While the city skyline layers itself in bruised purple, she strides to the safe behind a crate and barrel painting. Twist. 6 clicks. Out tumble patents, original NDAs she wrote at 2 a.m., documents signed by clients who insisted on Sloan's desk only. One folder marked Mine. She drops them onto her walnut coffee table. Thud, thud, the tenant soundtrack of New Beginnings. A twinge, always a twinge. Family ghost in her throat. Is it betrayal or boundary? She swallows lukewarm chamomile, letting the steam curl between lashes. Sadness? Maybe. But louder, the rustle of a leaf finally torn from the Whitman tree. 17 texts unanswered, Friday night champagne flutes clinking in distant Hamptons, while here, the skyline hushes in recognition. She sets the teacup down. The future tastes like store-brand coffee at sunrise and equity that's truly hers. Click, clack, laptop shut. A new Greenwich morning waits on the other side of the burned bridge. Whatever happened next, I was done being the invisible daughter, the one always trying to squeeze into a seat at a table built to keep me out. My phone buzzed around 7:30 p.m., lighting up with WhatsApp notifications and texts from family. I didn't even glance at them. Instead, I hit play on a movie I'd been dying to see, ordered my favorite takeout, and let myself enjoy a Friday night for once. At exactly 10:47 p.m., my dad's ringtone pierced the air. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. By the 4th call, I powered my phone off completely. Surprisingly, I slept like a baby that night. When I turned my phone back on at 7 a.m. Saturday, it felt like a bomb went off. Notifications flooded in. 64 missed calls, 127 texts, 43 WhatsApp messages, 17 voicemails. I brewed a cup of coffee before diving into the chaos. The first voicemail was from 10:48 p.m. Sloan Whitman, it's Dad. Call me immediately about this fund transfer. There must be some mistake. The second, from 11:10 p.m., dripped with frustration. Sloan Whitman, this is completely unacceptable. Whatever point you're trying to make, this isn't the way. Call me back now. As the night wore on, his messages morphed from anger to panic. By the 2:15 a.m. voicemail, his voice trembled. What happened? The bank has flagged everything. The fund is completely frozen due to suspicious activity. You need to call me back right now. The last voicemail from 6:30 a.m. was different. His tone was softer, almost vulnerable. Sloan Whitman, I don't understand what's happening. Whatever we did to upset you, this seems extreme. The entire family fund is locked down. The bank needs your verification to unfreeze the account since you initiated the transaction. Please call me back. Please. And in that moment I realized I held the cards, the very leverage I never intended to wield. I took a sip of my too-hot coffee, bitter yet perfect, and let the laughter bubble up inside me. The feds were at the door, and I was finally ready to reclaim my worth. Candle wax dripped like missed birthdays. I close my eyes. Scent of cinnamon shoves me 16 years back. Greenwich Thanksgiving. Mahogany table gleams so hard it hurts my squint. Dad raises his flute. To the true heirs, the ones who belong. No empty seat for Sloane Whitman the afterthought. Chandeliers clink louder than my heartbeat. I press dress hem embroidered with lily of the valley, buds too tiny for these giants. One tear, salty, secret, lands on my tongue. That lip-smack moment, I swear, they'll one day need me and have to ask. Back to Saturday dawn. Phone lit like Times Square. Dad, plea, voicemail. Whatever we did, just call. I grin, polish off my oat milk latte, hit Do Not Disturb. Monday will be legend. Sun filters through expensive blinds. Rain scent from a weekend storm still clings to the brick. My place is small, rental gray walls, yet it feels freer than any estate brass-banded driveway. I text Dad once. Section 7.3. I've exited my share. Bank's routine freeze. Verified docs were submitted Friday night. Deleted contact name remains. Screen fades to black again. Doorbell rings. I flinch, then quirk a brow. Mailroom is closed. Peephole shows no one. Overlapping leaf rustle wraps the block. Neighbors brunch aloof, as always in Greenwich. The phone screams again. I decline, send location pin. Monday, 9 a.m., home office. Breathe. In one palm, I cradle the authority they never imagined. Sandra calls midday, amusement warm. Your uncle demanded the whole executive floor, claimed eldest son privilege. Faces were priceless. I laugh, short musical echo in kitchen tile. She mentions fraud alerts, procedure timelines. I nod at her kindness, promise an update later. Night falls honey gold. Car headlights slice my window in sliding rectangles. I reheat leftover takeout. Garlic aroma floods the room, ordinary yet mine. Somewhere downtown, red silk panic blooms inside a marble foyer. The contrast tastes symphonic. Sunday whispers soft rains. I browse low estimates on a starter loft downtown. No courtyard, no pedigree. Still, mine. Fingers linger over the virtual tour. Do I dare? Sunday evening, final prep. Music low, jazzy sax over rain-drumming gutters. I choose a simple black blazer, no crest, no legacy jewelry. I arrange one copy of fund articles across glass coffee table, single pen of legal blue ink. Not for them. For me. Clock ticks toward 8:59. Monday. My heart drums louder than the city buses outside. Shadows stretch across hardwood like old loyalties. I sip mint water, feel mint crisp against tongue. Palate electric. Do I forgive or merely renegotiate? Knock at 8:57. Ripples of surprise? Fear? Maybe both. I breathe Rain City mornings into lungs, steel and leaf mulch and power. Door opens. They stand soaked, hair plastered, clothes far too formal for a condo they mocked in the past. Dad's eyes, those same eyes from Thanksgiving, clink, now dart, absorb my unassuming couch, my IKEA lamp, my calm. Uncle frowns at the absence of mahogany. I gesture to chairs facing mine. Sit. They do. For the first time, silence belongs to Sloane Whitman, the overlooked child holding nothing and everything. The screen on my phone lights again. Rain taps Morse on the skylight. Snippet preview. Sloane Whitman, we're ruined. I swipe left. Air feels colder. Uncle Richard's frantic text. Sabotage. Aunt Patricia. Too emotional. Jake. Henderson deal. 20 million. Their words bounce inside me like hail. Did they ever see the girl behind the spreadsheets? I pace barefoot over pine boards. Wood creaks like old loyalties. My mother's name appears. Sloane Whitman, honey, please. My stomach folds. She calls me the childhood name. The sound stings more than any swear. I mute the device, exhale mint breath. Silence smells like wet city leaves. I picture their mahogany foyer, normally candle-scented and loud with laughter, now echoing with dropped silverware. Saturday night. A second wave. My inbox becomes a storm surge. Clients, people I met over artisanal salads, text, "Is my money safe? Dad leaked my cell. He crossed wires, blurred my name with his drama. Line officially drawn." I draft calm replies, 10-word bullets. Your account, untouched. My tone, steady heartbeat, not apology. Sunday dawns slate gray. Espresso steams. I scroll family thread. Cousin Amanda. Good for you. Coffee? I grin. First real one since Thursday. Reply, yes. At 11:11 exactly, a voicemail appears. I tap, expecting Dad's baritone. The frantic camera of memory snaps into slow-mo. Mom's tear-choked plea plays, but the voice that follows, my own, age 17, clear boarding school vowels, recites a clause I wrote in looping calligraphy, the failsafe I forgot existed. Upon any sign of being taken for granted. The room tilts. Gooseflesh blooms. I did not enact revenge. I triggered the self-respect I embedded in invisible ink years ago before anyone could spell leverage. Rain steadies, softer now. My reflection in the window looks taller. The city bus sighs past. Tomorrow the family will arrive, soaked silk and pride. I set 3 mugs on the counter. Steam rises like questions. Monday morning. Greenwich drizzle beads on my loft windows. The air smells like copper and wet leaves. 3 sharp knocks. Jonathan, charcoal trench coat dripping. He doesn't speak. Slides a single cream page across the reclaimed pine desk. On it, a sealed envelope. Personal and urgent. My pulse sinks with rain taps. Fingers slide under wax. DNA report. Bold block letters. Jonathan Rutledge, 97.8% match. My lungs skip. The shares I yanked? Registered in his name. Not family. Him. He's been my silent ally the entire game. City lights flicker outside like slow applause. Jonathan's eyes stay cool, gray lake water. He whispers, "Your move, Sloan." The room holds its breath. I flip the page. A second sheet. Handwritten note. 8 words. You were never disposable. Just untapped leverage. Gooseflesh. Espresso steam curls above our heads like incense. The AC hum morphs into heartbeat bass. I meet his gaze. One nod. Silent agreement. He steps back into the hallway. Door clicks. I stand taller in the glass reflection. Rain softens. The city exhales. Monday just rewrote the script. Uncle Richard tried a different approach, sending a gruff text suggesting I was overreacting to standard business restructuring and needed to get over my hurt feelings for the good of the family. I prepared for Monday's meeting, meticulously organizing all my documentation and planning my talking points. I wasn't interested in revenge or drama. I simply wanted recognition of my value and respect for my contributions. Sunday night, my home security system alerted me to someone at my door. Through the camera, I saw my father standing there looking uncharacteristically disheveled. His normally perfectly pressed shirt was wrinkled, and he seemed to have aged years in 2 days. I considered not answering, sticking to my Monday morning timeline, but something in his defeated posture moved me. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. "Sloan Whitman," he said, his voice. "The Henderson deal falls through tomorrow at 9 a.m. if we don't have the funds. It's $3 million down the drain." I looked at him steadily. "That sounds like a business problem that needs a business solution." "What does that mean?" he asked. "It means I'm willing to help if we're talking business, not family emotions. 9 a.m. tomorrow at my home office as arranged. Bring whoever you want from the family leadership." He looked like he wanted to say more to push for an immediate resolution, but something in my expression must have told him it would be useless. 900 a.m., he confirmed, then turned and walked back to his car. I closed the door and leaned against it, taking a deep breath. For perhaps the first time in my professional life, my father had come to me in need rather than the other way around. Tomorrow would be a new kind of family meeting, one where I set the terms. I slept fitfully that night, waking several times to check the security system. Part of me worried that more family members might show up, but the house remained quiet. By 6 a.m., I was up and preparing. I shut the door behind them, the click swallowed by rain-sweet air laced with nutmeg. The hallway smelled like espresso, leather, and leaf rustle from the cracked window. The flashback punched in. 17 again, green velvet dress hem brushing Waterford crystal. Nana's glass sparkled. Aunt Patricia's laugh sliced. Let Sloane do it, she's good with numbers. Crystal vibrated against my palm. Ice against skin. Compliment or leash? The decanter kissed the table with a hollow clack that echoed louder than any toast I'd raised since. Nutmeg and gravy steam wrapped me like a warm lie while cold understanding bled through. I blinked back to my dining room. They sat in my brown chairs, hands around blue and white porcelain. My father's cuff was wrinkled, the same creases I'd pressed smooth for years. I stood at the head. My seat. Aunt Patricia tried a smile. Smells like Thanksgiving in here. That smell is coffee, I said. Conversation is business. Let's keep it clean. They wanted the Henderson deal saved. They wanted it by 9:30. $3 million? 3 hours. Before we touch numbers, I continued, we talk equity. My equity. Uncle Richard exhaled through his teeth, impatient thunder. Jake folded arms over an untucked shirt. Jonathan, attorney with spreadsheets for DNA, poised his fountain pen above yellow legal paper. You took my name off the letterhead, I said. Tonight my name becomes the price tag. Silence pulsed, heartbeat after heartbeat, until my father spoke. What are your terms? Terms, not questions. Good. You liquidate my inherited shares. Market price plus 15% premium. Patricia coughed. That's exorbitant. That was standard restructure last week, I shot back. Her cheeks blossomed the color of mulled cider. Dad raised a hand, old King still trying the gesture. We'll pay, but the Henderson deal closes Monday. We need capital today. I slid a folder to each seat. Inside, term sheets, non-disclosure agreements, one paragraph labeled Family Appreciation Clause, a line requiring annual charitable donations in my name. No exceptions, ever. Their signatures or nothing. Jake flipped page 1, jaw tight. This feels personal. It is, I said, voice steady as rainfall. You made it personal when you redlined my name. The kitchen timer dinged, 9 o'clock sharp. Dad picked up his pen but didn't uncap it. We're family. Exactly, I said. Prove it. 10 seconds. Pens scratched wood like dry autumn leaves. I watched my father sign last, the blue ink spreading a tide beneath a trembling signature. I stepped to the coffee pot just so they couldn't see my exhale. The nutmeg scent returned, ghost from 17. This time the lie floated away. The truth stayed. The clock above the coffee station ticks louder. 1 click, 2, 9:04. I set the signed papers beside the cooling carafe. Ink still wet in the green light of the espresso machine. This, I say, tapping the sheets, isn't the ransom note you think. It's the receipt. Uncle Richard's jaw flexes. Rain needles the patio doors, scent of wet pine swirling in. Receipt for what, Sloane Whitman? His voice cracks like old ice. I let the silence square itself. Then, softly, for pretending I mattered. Inside my phone buzzes. Bank notification. Transfer confirmed. My shares cashed at 1:15. Liquid before lunch. I flash him the screen. Green digits dance. 3 million, ready. Patricia's eyes shimmer. She reaches, but her manicure clicks empty air. Why risk us all? She whispers. I breathe in the espresso haze. Risk implies surprise. You built the cliff. I just chose not to jump. Jake stands, chair screeching. You'll scorch careers. Sparks have use, I say. They show where the rot hides. Jonathan flips documents faster than the espresso drips. He lands on the last page, the pen hovering. His voice flat, half-gram of panic. Your father's co-signature is missing. The room freezes. I look past them all, toward the dark lawn. No signature, no release of the Henderson deal. My father watches me like I planted the storm clouds. Then, his hand reaches, slow, for the pen. Rain slashed the Greenwich windows as Sloane Whitman angled her phone toward her brother's. Green digits, 5 million, hovered. One swipe sent it, one swipe bled it. Dad's voice cracked. Sweetheart, you'd bankrupt us. Aunt Patricia's pearls trembled like wind chimes. Uncle Richard sucked in the wet pine scent. Jonathan muttered, Bank wants approval. 10 digits. Sloane's thumb hovered. The espresso machine clicked. A heartbeat. Would she? Could she? Silence. Then a soft beep. Cancel. The Henderson deal dies at 9:07. Sloane shut the lid, slipped the phone into blazer pocket. She tasted hazelnut and finality. Loan renegotiated, she murmured, rain at her back, voice steady. We'll use Whitman Wealth Partners liquidity, but no forgiveness. 5 million moved instead into a revolving fund she now fully controls. Paperwork drafted at the counter, signatures fresh like spilled ink. Dad, gray, whispers, that's still family money. No, Sloane says. It stopped being family the moment you made it conditional. I agreed. Family should always treat each other with respect. But that group message asking me to step back? That really drove the point home about my value around here. My dad tried to play it off, saying it was poorly handled, but I knew better. No, Dad, I said quietly. This isn't a one-off mistake. It's a pattern. I met each of their eyes, each one a mirror of dismissiveness, a reflection of years of neglect. My ideas, always a little too late to the table until someone else pitches them, and my wins, attributed to team effort while others bask in the glory. I felt the air thicken as I continued. I've brought millions to this family and I'm treated like I don't exist. That ends today. The silence was deafening. Jake finally scoffed, breaking the tension. Come on, don't be so dramatic. You need the Whitman name as much as we need your number crunching. Where do you think you're going? My pulse raced. This was the opening I'd been waiting for. I smiled. That brings us to the next item on our agenda. I pressed a button. The dining room flickered to life, revealing my presentation. The first slide glowed with my logo, Sloane Whitman Capital Management. I've been running my own investment firm for 4 years, I explained, dodging the stunned looks around the table. With each click, I could feel the anticipation grow, like waiting for fireworks. My personal clients boast an average return of 17%, I said, advancing to the next slide, revealing the growth charts. Compared to your 9% at Whitman Wealth Partners. The reactions ranged from disbelief to frustration, but I couldn't hide my satisfaction. That's not possible, my father stammered. You've been working full-time at our firm. Exactly, I replied, relishing the moment. But this was never about them. This is about me finally claiming my worth. It's time for you all to appreciate what I bring, or watch it walk out the door. I let that sink in, letting the room hang heavy with my ultimatum, feeling the power shift beneath my feet. Did I just seize control or set the family up for disaster? Only time would tell. When would you have had time to run another business? Evenings? Weekends? The vacation days I never took? I shot back, my voice steady. While everyone else was at the lake house or jetting off to Europe, I was building something of my own. Uncle Richard's face shifted from red to nearly purple. This is a violation of your employment contract. You can't compete with the family business. I slid a document across the table to Jonathan. My employment contract specifically allows for personal investment activities, as long as they don't directly solicit Whitman financial clients. I've adhered to that completely. Jonathan skimmed the document, his brow furrowing. "She's technically correct," he muttered. The clause was meant for personal stock trading, but it was broadly worded. I advanced to the next slide, revealing a list of patents. I also hold 7 patents for financial algorithms and trading systems, all registered to me personally, not Whitman Financial. "They were developed while you worked for us," my father argued, though uncertainty crept into his voice. "They were developed on my own time, using my own resources," I corrected him, feeling the tension thicken like fog. "I've maintained meticulous documentation to establish that. The patents are legally mine." The next slide displayed a client list, a modest but impressive collection of names, none of whom were current Whitman Financial clients. "I've built relationships with 27 high-net-worth clients completely separate from our family business," I continued, my heart racing. "Their combined assets under my management total just over $400 million. Jake let out a low whistle, despite himself. "Furthermore," I said, moving to another slide, 17 current Whitman Financial clients have personal service agreements with me specifically." I handed copies of these contracts to Jonathan. These agreements include clauses stating that if I leave the firm, they have the option to transfer their accounts to follow me. Jonathan reviewed the documents, concern etched on his face. These are standard personal service provisions. But the air crackled with a different kind of energy. The overhead projector flickered, and a new slide appeared, a screenshot of a Delaware holding company ledger. Every patent's licensing revenue flowed not to me personally, but to the Sloan Ann Whitman Endowed Scholarship Fund, the very trust Grandma established for the family's overlooked daughter. Silence detonated like champagne against crystal. Grandma had quietly gifted the IP years ago. They didn't overlook me. They robbed, then lost, their own safety net. Did they finally see me? Or was this just the beginning of a reckoning? My heartbeat echoed against the mahogany table, steady and loud like a kick drum. Dad's voice wavered, filled with disbelief. "Then tell us, what do we sign to keep you?" The projector flickered, casting ghostly shadows in the dim room. Suddenly, the screen snapped to black, leaving only the eerie hum of the fan, a suspenseful intermission where every breath felt weighted with tension. I let the silence stretch, feeling rush of emotion tinged with adrenaline. I slid a thin sheath of exit contracts across the table. The paper whispered, its edges sharp against the stillness. I locked eyes with my father and murmured, "But what if I no longer take checks drawn on my own self-respect?" Cut to black. In the air, the scent of rain lingered, almost electric. As I unveiled the next slide, I revealed my achievements. 7 patents secured from my relentless nights of labor, the fruits of my dedication, unlike anything my family had recognized. "These were built on my own time," I declared, my voice rising above the hushed breaths in the room. My father's previously authoritative demeanor had faltered, uncertainty creeping in. I felt the collective gasp of surprise as I introduced my impressive roster of clients amassed independently, nearly 27 high-net-worth figures whose trust I had earned outside our family's shadows. "How many of our clients?" Dad's face grew pale as the realization sank in. "About $230 million in assets," I replied, an air of defiance threading through my words. Silence enveloped us, thickening like mist. It wasn't just numbers, it was the very foundation of my worth. I glanced around, catching glimpses of disbelief and pity, mixing with urgency which electrified the atmosphere. I pressed forward, revealing a striking comparison between the performance of Whitman Financial and my own. "I'm not here to hurt anyone." I softened slightly, but the gravity of my truth hung heavily, undeniable. "I've earned the right to be taken seriously." In that moment, I caught a flicker of something in Dad's eyes. Respect, interlaced with regret. "What do you want, Sloan?" he asked, his voice a barely there whisper. First, we finalized the loan agreement for the Henderson deal to address the immediate need. I breathed in deeply, feeling the weight of my resilience. Then, I take a 1-month leave of absence from Whitman Financial. This will allow everyone to process. I scanned the table, the tension palpable, and concluded, we reconvene in 30 days to discuss either my return under new terms or my formal exit and the transition of my clients. Jonathan broke the silence, his voice firm. From a legal standpoint, these are reasonable requests. My heart raced. It was now or never. Would they finally see me for who I truly am? Sloane leaned back, the leather chair still warm from Dad's earlier arrogance. Her pulse steadied to the soft tick of the rain scent drifting through the cracked window. The family filed out, each footstep a question mark on hardwood. Aunt Patricia offered the fakest smile in New England. Sloane smiled wider. She waited. Click. The boardroom lights dimmed. Her left iris flickered. Silver ripple, quick, like static on old film. The air shifted. Uncle Richard's last huff looped, half a beat late, lips lagging behind the sound. Sloane's HUD whispered, replay loaded. The polished walnut table, the hush, Dad's, we accept your terms. All pre-rendered for their AR lenses. Real Richard was home streaming golf, unaware his avatar had surrendered. Sloane had stitched together the faces she could almost forgive, then grafted them over the raw feed the family actually saw. She edited in a tremor of regret on Dad's cheek, trimmed Jake's tantrum, boosted Mom's pride to 110% saturation. Outside, the real patriarch still sat alone on a silent video call, muted at 8:03 a.m., blinking at a paused frame of Sloane's calm smile. He thought he had just promised her a future. He was right, but the future belonged to Sloane Whitman Productions. She closed the loan folder. Asset count, $234 million. Emotion account. Finally, in the black. She inhaled the crisp leaf rustle of Greenwich autumn, exhaled the last shred of doubt. They'd replay tonight's footage like gospel. She pressed publish. Winter air bites at Sloane Whitman's ankles on the marble floor of the old Connecticut kitchen. 16, she stands tall in her boarding school skirt, her only armor. The furnace hums, a soundtrack to her isolation. Dad's voice slices through the chill, harsh as the cold metal coins she clutches in her palm. Sloane, numbers over feelings. Those babysitting profits, her first taste of independence, become fodder for his ambitions. The room narrows, oven's orange glow flickering like a dare. She inhales the burnt nutmeg, shame creeping in. In that moment, she vows, someday the ledger will blink in her favor. Fast forward. After everyone left, Sloane sits alone in her dining room. Coffee cups witness her thoughts, scattered papers echoing her mixed emotions. She had pictured this moment 1,000 times, standing up for herself. Yet reality feels raw and clinical. One meeting, it won't resolve everything. But she feels the shift. For the first time, she's negotiating from strength, not desperation. The next 30 days are a critical transition. She immerses herself in her independent business, assembling a small team. If the family decides to transfer clients from Whitman Wealth Partners, they'll be ready. If the family calls her back for a hybrid arrangement, they've got plans in place. She finds joy again, hiking in the White Mountains, dinners with non-family friends, and even dating, activities she'd neglected. There's a lightness to her days that feels foreign, yet liberating. During coffee meetups with her cousin Amanda, they bond over shared frustrations and aspirations. Amanda has an architectural degree, stifled by the family's expectations. Watching you stand up to them gave me courage, she confesses. I've started interviewing with design firms. I just haven't told anyone else. Sloane leans closer, eyes locked. They'll try to talk you out of it. A fierce smile breaks through Amanda's anxiety. As days turn into nights, the looming family meeting creates a mixture of anticipation and dread. The tension feels tangible, The stakes are high. Sloane is no longer the invisible young woman in her father's shadow. She is ready to reclaim her narrative, ready to teach her entitled family a lesson they desperately need to learn. Will they finally see her for who she truly is? With each heartbeat, she feels the power shift in her favor at last. In those moments of quiet strength, Sloane is not just surviving the storm, she's driving the winds of change. There's no turning back now. Her time has come. As she sits in the calm before the storm, a powerful realization dawns. She isn't just fighting for her worth anymore. She's igniting a spark of courage for everyone overlooked, everyone fighting against the tides of their own families. Sloane Whitman is here, and she's ready to reshape the future. The air was thick with tension as Sloane entered the trendy Greenwich restaurant. She had chosen a private room, a deliberate move to level the playing field. A round table, no head, no dominant figures. This was her stage. Today was the day to reclaim her narrative. Days before, Jonathan had filled her in on family updates. The loan she orchestrated had saved the Henderson deal. Her strategies were taking root. And now, murmurs of reconciliation floated through the air like the scent of rain on pavement after a summer storm. Everyone was trying to gauge her ahead of this pivotal meeting. As they gathered, the atmosphere shifted. No longer were they defiant shadows lurking in her father's shadow. Today, her father wore a softened expression. Uncle Richard had lost his combative edge, and Aunt Patricia exchanged her fake warmth for something more genuine. Even Jake, the ever-distracted one, seemed present, and Jonathan stood tall, professionalism in check. But then, a surprise. Her mother was here, and Amanda too, the cousin whose dreams had been suffocated by family expectations. With a nod from Sloane, seating arrangements changed, and there they were, all of them. A mix of unease and anticipation crackled in the air. "Over the past month, we've reflected deeply," her father began, his voice surprisingly measured. "Sloane, your contributions, they have brought a level of insight we didn't fully appreciate before." Sloane could feel her heart race. Was it really happening? He gestured to Jonathan, who slid folders across the table. "We're proposing a restructuring of Whitman Wealth Partners." Her breath caught. A new division, Whitman Capital Management, with her as president and CEO, autonomy over investments, client relationships, and a new profit-sharing model? The shock rippled through her, but she steadied herself, refusing to show disbelief. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Can I really reshape this legacy? She thought. Would they finally see her worth? The walls of dismissal were crumbling, and all at once she realized this wasn't just about her. This was for everyone who felt overlooked. Nerves danced in her stomach as she locked eyes with Amanda, who nodded subtly, encouragement radiating. In that moment, Sloane wasn't merely making her case, she was forging a path forward for them all. This was just the beginning. Would her family truly recognize the fire she'd ignited within them? One heartbeat at a time, Sloane Whitman stood poised on the brink of something extraordinary. The winds of change were swirling, and she was ready to take flight. The atmosphere crackled with tension as I opened the folder. The proposal, laid bare on the table, danced between possibility and disbelief. My father's voice cut through the silence, crisp and resolute. "We're offering you a significant ownership stake, Sloane, and decision-making authority directly tied to your performance." I leaned in, heart pounding. This was it. A game changer. He continued, "We're restructuring the family fund. Contributors will have voting rights based on their actual investments, not just the outdated equal say most families abide by." My head spun with disbelief. Were they finally acknowledging the years of being viewed as disposable? "What about my existing business?" I shot back. Jonathan stepped in. "We're proposing a merger. Your clients and patents will be integrated into this new division, with protections for your rights." The weight of his words hung in the air. I had so many thoughts swirling within me, yet I pressed on. "And leadership succession?" My father nodded. The new plan's merit-based. Promotions will hinge on results, not bloodlines. We've been thinking about this. My uncle, usually a fortress of resistance, shifted in his seat. I've been dismissive, Sloan, but your approach yields results. His admission hung heavy, like a summer storm brewing. Your generation brings fresh perspectives, Aunt Patricia chimed in. We need to embrace that, not resist it. But could I trust them? My mind was spinning, ideas igniting like a wildfire. As I glanced at Amanda, her eyes shimmering with encouragement, one thing struck me. This was more than an offer. It was a chance to redefine our entire legacy. The boardroom lights dimmed, casting everything in a bruised purple hue. My phone buzzed, snapping me back to the present. A message blinked. Your withdrawal request has been reversed. I locked eyes with my father, his smile faltering, tension tightening around us like a vice. The notification flashed. Your capital holds 51%. Confirm exit? My fingers hovered over the screen. Was it finally time to claim my worth? Jake shifted uncomfortably as if wrestling with the weight of his words. I've learned a lot reviewing your client strategies over the past month. There's a depth to your approach I hadn't really seen before. This admission hung in the air, altering the family dynamic like a sudden gust of wind. My mom reached across the table, her hand gently squeezing mine. A simple gesture, but it felt monumental, her quiet support echoing louder than all the noise around us. I appreciate everyone's willingness to reconsider our working relationship, I said softly. I'll review the proposal and get back to you within a week. As the meeting wrapped up, Amanda caught my eye, offering a small smile of encouragement. No matter what happened next, I had at least one family member who understood, who believed in what this moment signified. The days that followed were a whirlwind of analysis, crunching numbers, poring over terms, seeking clarity on authority boundaries. It felt intense, but thrilling. I finally accepted a modified version of the family's proposal. A new division was born, my independent business merged in, and I took on a leadership role reflecting my contributions. My investments returned to the family fund. But now, my voice echoed proportionally to my commitment. Sure, the transition wasn't flawless. Old habits die hard. My father might instinctively clash against decisions. Jake would slip into old routines, taking credit in client meetings. Aunt Patricia's subtle digs lingered like a pesky rain cloud. Yet we had a framework to manage these hiccups. More importantly, I had shown I was ready to walk away if need be. Over the next year, Whitman Capital Management outshone all the other family divisions. New clients flocked to us, drawn in by our fresh, innovative strategies. Meanwhile, existing clients reveled in enhanced returns. This was more than just business, it was a masterpiece in progress. Would my family finally grasp the value I brought, or would they continue missing the mark? Only time would tell. My cousin Amanda took a leap, chasing her architectural dreams. I backed her with a small investment in her new design firm. It felt good to support her. Family dynamics began to shift, slowly but surely. My father and I forged a new bond, built on mutual respect rather than the old parent-child tension that had held us back for years. Some family members adapted better than others, but everyone recognized that our business was thriving thanks to the changes we had made. One evening, nearly a year after that fateful group message that had set everything in motion, my father and I were burning the midnight oil, poring over quarterly results. The room was dim, the scent of fresh coffee lingering in the air. "I've been thinking about your grandfather lately," he said, breaking the silence. He handed me a worn piece of paper. When he passed the business to me, he said something I didn't grasp at the time. He said, "The best legacy isn't preservation, it's evolution." I think I finally understand what he meant. I paused, absorbing his words. Evolution is tough. It means admitting that the original form might not be perfect. He nodded, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. Pride makes that hard, he admitted. I had been so focused on preserving what he built that I resisted the changes that could have made it better. He smiled slightly, acknowledging the irony, even when those changes came from the person most committed to its success. It's never too late to evolve, I replied, my voice steady. The journey from being overlooked to earning respect hadn't been easy. It took leverage, the courage to walk away, and a confrontation I would have preferred to avoid. But the outcome? It wasn't just better for me. It was better for the entire family and the business we all cherished. The most valuable lesson I learned wasn't about finance or strategy. It was simpler, more universal. Respect isn't given freely. Sometimes you have to claim it. Worth isn't defined by others' recognition of it. It's rooted in your own understanding of your value and your willingness to stand firm in that knowledge. Mint rain clings to the red brick. Inside, Sloan Whitman flips off the lights. Quarterly reports glow like verdicts. Her father taps the frozen trust app. No heartbeat. A single tear meets cold glass. She inhales spells, "That's my worth," and lets the echo settle. Somewhere downtown, the scent of burnt privilege drifts past town cars. Emptied accounts blink zeros. Voicemails pile up. Mom, Dad, Cousin Jake play like overlapping paparazzi shutters. Overhead, copper sunset floods the boardroom. Sloan stands in the hush. The city whispers back. Turns out, evolution hurts everyone, then heals the ones willing to withstand the burn.